It is the final Panther Talk of the season. Anish Shroff, Jim Zoki, Eugene Robinson, and as always, the head coach of the Carolina Panthers, Dave Canales. First off, congratulations. I know the ending was tough, but the season brought so much hope and joy to the city, to the region, to Panther fans. The stadium was rocking on Sunday. It's been almost 48 hours since the game on Saturday. As you've had a chance to kind of digest it all, what's the feeling like here on Monday?
The first feeling I have is thinking about when we first came, as a staff, put our heads together about, what was in front of us and what we wanted to accomplish. And what came out of that was we want to build a brand of football that our Panthers fans can be proud of, that we can be proud of. The quality of ball, the effort, the play style has got to be just right. We owe it to the sport. We owe it to the game, to the fans, everyone, to the players, to have that kind of pride, to put ourselves in a position to play for that first championship, and for the guys, the entire group, to come together and to put ourselves in this position right here. There's a lot of pride that comes with that. And then there's also, just as we're still living through Wild Card Weekend with one more game tonight, the excitement around these games, and all of them, except for the one last night, decided by 4 points or less, with the last possession being on the line, to know that we belong in these types of games, and to see just how critical every day is, the fundamentals and the details, and how tight the margins are in these games. But so the disappointment of coming so close and not being able to finish it, but at the same time building something that we are proud to be a part of and proud to build from.
Anish mentioned about 48 hours. Is there any plays, and typically I'm thinking as a player, that you think in your head like, man, I wish we could have did this, I wish we could have did that, or do you even dwell, or have you moved on even past that?
Oh, there's a bunch of them, and that's a weekly thing, and that's a part of the process. It's a part of having the courage to look at the truth, to be accountable to it all across the board. And, I don't want to sit here and start pulling up those plays, Eugene.
Don't do it. Yeah.
We had opportunities, and we made some plays, and the Rams, they made more. Namely, they made one more play. That was a beautiful throw, a beautiful catch by Colby Parkinson to get in there for that last touchdown, and got to give those guys a lot of credit. But, we just continue to take those things into consideration, and now we have a chance to regroup and to look at the big picture and try to find ways to help the Panthers win.
We're talking about playing clean football. Do you look at your team and see how much they've grown?
Absolutely. You're looking at the shift from year one to year two in terms of penalties and how much cleaner football we played this year. And it starts with great technique, because when you play with great fundamentals and technique, you're in a firm and strong position. You're owning your ground, and it keeps your hands clean, and it keeps a lot of those decisions out of play when you play those things well. But I saw that improvement, from a ball security standpoint. We didn't finish in the positive on the season. We were -2 in the turnover differential. But if I look across the group, for the guys that were handling the ball from a skill position standpoint, you think about the jet sweep fumble by Jimmy Horn, and Chuba got one punched out. And outside of that, we took care of the ball for the most part. And, Bryce taking opportunities and being aggressive. Interceptions happen, when you're trying and when you're going for it and competing, that stuff happens. But I felt collectively, even on the defensive side and special teams, getting the ball out, real improvement right there. We talk about the ball as being the most important factor, and we made huge strides there. We got to do better. We got to continue to flip that thing so we can be in the positive, and that'll be a really critical part of our success going into next season.
When you get to the day after the season is locker clean out, and you're talking to a room full of players that many will continue here, some will be elsewhere, some may never play another football game today, beyond this weekend, I should say. So what's kind of your message to all those guys collectively when you're in that situation, saying your goodbyes at the end of a season? Appreciation
for the work that goes into it. Nobody knows firsthand than our group, and what it takes, the attention to detail, the focus, the emotional, mental energy of facing adversity, of handling success, and then just the work that goes into being on the grass and going for it, and giving everything they have on Sundays. And just what an appreciation, for the entire group, from the athletic training standpoint to strength and conditioning, the coaches, certainly, the support staff, everybody just giving everything they have to try to find that competitive edge, and the players who ultimately go out there and play this beautiful physical game, but, the toll that it takes, and for guys to be able to, rehab their bodies and get themselves back to a point where they can compete at a high level. just what an amazing appreciation I have for that, and for all the sacrifices given.
Saturday looked and felt like a celebration of this town, this area becoming a Panther city again, and you can feel it everywhere you go. My dad's telling me he's wearing his Panther stuff around. People are honking and waving. It's that feeling again, and you see the power of sports and community. How have you personally felt that living in Charlotte?
I believe it's a calling. I believe that we are called to excellence in whatever we do, and that's the biggest thing that you can do to represent a group, to represent ourselves, because it gives a sense of pride to the community, and to feel that outpouring and to feel the encouragement, and while we have high standards, we're trying to push to win all these games, and even coming off of last year, on a 5-win season, but to see the progress and the appreciation for what we're trying to build, and then this year to make it all the way to the wild card round, and to really go blow for blow in a game, and to feel that support, it means everything. It's the world to us, as we know. And I try to make sure, and as a coaching staff, we try to make sure that our players understand, like, yes, it is about football. Yes, it is about winning, but don't underestimate the impact of being kind in the community, of being available, of reaching out, and, some of the things that especially Nicole Tepper does to bring the community together and to give back. And when you win, it makes it even more special, and so just trying to make sure that we all remember that we're a part of a bigger story here.
And in the same vein, you've now raised the bar, and so now expectations change as well. How do you kind of wrap your head around, okay, now there's a good chance the Panthers probably will be picked to win the division next year?
I love that. I love the expectations of it. I love the standards being elevated. You've probably heard some of our players. Derek was quoted, that we have a new standard. I absolutely love that, because it then gives me the ability to push the urgency, to push the prep in the offseason. We come back in mid-April. Some of the guys may stay in town. We have a great plan for them. A lot of them will go to their homes in different places and train. And parting messages for me is like, we got to handle business and make sure you show back up in April ready to work. And you're not showing back up to get in shape at that point. This is your job, and we all have a job to do. We're all going to be all hands on deck working for that. But I love the urgency of it. I invite that for our group, because the expectation is every week when we play good ball and we do right and we nail the critical variables of how we win and what it takes to win, it requires that sense of urgency for all of us to be connected.
Coach, everybody's always talking about playoff experience, pedigree, and all that stuff. How important was it for you guys to get that playoff experience? Because some of those guys have never even been in the playoffs, and to see how this bowl and just how different it was, that game was, how important was that?
It was incredible. It was incredible to know that hard work pays off. Again, while we would have loved to have beat Tampa in that last game, we had a couple of opportunities even before that to put the shirts and hats on the verge of a win. We worked so hard throughout a season and played enough good football to be right there at the end, and then to just get the experience, to see what it feels like in Bank of America Stadium, and just asking the guys, JJ, who's been here forever, and faced, he's seen different playoff games in different scenarios, just the back and forth of that game. He can't remember a more electric moment, than that one, and he's been a part of some really big games. So it was really important to feel that, guys, this is what we're playing for. Win that first championship first. Win the division so you host a home game, because there's power in that, and it was certainly an advantage for us.
So Ike Ekwonu, Charlotte kid, talk first about the person and the player, the tough injury. Also, probably makes you focus differently in some ways heading into the offseason with the draft and other ways of acquiring offensive line help, I would think.
Absolutely. We have to take that into consideration, and we don't know exactly what the timeline would look like, but I'm betting on Icky doing all the work and grinding just like he does everything else. A super high character guy. And so we'll be counting on Icky to come back to us. But in general, we're always going to look for ways. First and foremost, how do you improve from one year to the next? Let's get healthy. Let's get our players that we're counting on to come back. You got Pat Jones, Icky. Let's get Rob for a full season. Rob Hunt. Let's start there. Let's develop the guys that got some exposure this year, some of the younger players, some of the newer players that came to us, and let's pour into those guys. And then let's challenge this roster, and that's something that Dan and I have talked about now going into this offseason as well. Is it is our job to challenge our current roster, either through free agency or the draft, to see where we can push, because competition is the heart and soul of it, and it drives everything, and it elevates the entire style of play from a group. because when you bring talent in there, everybody knows, okay, I got to take it up a notch. I got to pour in more. I got to invest more, and it just helps the whole environment.
And then one more, of course, Jonathan Brooks, young running back, sat out this year getting healthier and rehabbing. Where is he kind of on that timetable right now as far as his progress?
He is trending in the right direction, and we had a plan to not put him out there this year, after a second ACL injury, and to make sure that we give him the best chance to compete and to affect our roster and coming into this year. And he's flying around. He's big. He's beautiful looking. And, just the way that he's progressed and went about his work, Denny and the staff have done an incredible job of bringing him back on, the strength staff as well. He's one of the more powerful, explosive athletes that we have, and he's going to have an opportunity to compete to start for this team just like a lot of other guys.
And, Coach, finally, Bryce Young, where did he make the most strides this year, and what are your expectations for him now going into year 4?
Yeah, the biggest thing I would say is just his involvement and the interactions between Brad and myself and Will, the quarterback's coach. Just his understanding of what we're trying to accomplish, and then his feedback is so critical for us. It is so important because all we talk about is making sure that our schemes, our concepts fit Bryce where he's the most confident and able to do those things, and the work that he's put in, the time on task with our wide receivers and tight ends, to fine-tune some of the pass game. But then as he sees it and understands it, he's like, hey, can we put this guy here? Hey, can we move this split out to this one? Can we do this formation? Hey, I saw this one. And that feedback is so valuable for us as we set the foundation of what we're doing, but fine-tuning it in a way that Bryce is confident and comfortable with, on that. And then the second part of it is just operating at the line of scrimmage and using his tools. Joe Gilbert, our offensive line coach, heads up the pressures, and he and Bryce have done a great job of getting us to good solutions, whether it's on the perimeter, signals, or whether it's the protection adjustments, and we've had some really big plays come off of that. Those are some amazing areas that he's really taken strides this year.
Dave Canales, head coach of the Carolina Panthers, what an amazing season, and been so fun for us to kind of follow from afar, and we appreciate your time as always. I think everybody in this city and this area is excited for what's to come.
Well, I'm very excited too, and just really excited for 2026. And our goal is going to be the same thing: is can we become the best 2026 Panthers, building off of a foundation. But every year is a new year. Can we recommit? Those commitments are going to be powerful and take us where we want to go.
All right, Dave Canales here on Panther Talk. We will talk with Coach again when 2026 fall-ish rolls around. We'll be back on the Carolina Panthers Radio Network.